Hello everybody, bonjour à tout le monde. I'm Frederic Puche. I'm running the innovation piece for the market unit of SAP France. And I'm going to try in, let's say, roughly less than 50 minutes to talk about the famous subject around machine learning, predictive process mining, RPA, and so on. And for sure, I'm going to try to stick probably on the role that today you are running as a CFO. And by the way, thanks for CFO Connect and especially the CFO Connect Summit organization for having me today. To be honest today, what I want to do is to drive you across a journey, probably out of your day-to-day business. So if you don't mind, please forget about your industry, forget about your role, forget about your smartphone, but please don't forget me. So what I'm going to first of all introduce is that we are in a world where we know that we were running from a process-driven to data-driven, meaning that for during long time, we've been running business processes, traditional financial system, for example, or even sales order system. These data were then sent to another system dedicated to business intelligence. Today, we are in a world where the data coming from different sources, we're going to see that are able to trigger processes. And this is the story that I want to tell you. But when we talk about data, we talk about multi-sources, and for sure there is a bunch of sources. As you can see here, thousands, billions of sources providing data today. So let me go through this journey, and the journey is composed by three main pillars. First of all, we're going to talk about the data, which let's say the first topic, and that's gold. It could be gold if we can clean the data, if we can understand from the data. Second topic will be around processes for sure, and I'm going to come back into the financial area, but not only. Please bear with me if I don't focus my full session on financial only. We're going to discover different topics within the company. And the last piece, which is probably the most important also, is about people. So coming back about data, first topic around data is to collect the data. And when you say collect the data, what are the sources? Transactional, we know that. Text, that's an important topic. We have whole text around us. How can we use text mining and text analysis? We'll see that in a minute. And how can we process images, videos, sounds, even smells? So I know that you are all on mute. I would love to scan your reaction just by listening you. Well, smelling you, it's a little bit complex in remote, but I'll show you that in a minute when we do that physically. Data can come from Internet of Things, all right? And this is not new, but we have more and more sensors that can provide data. And last but not least, from the experience itself, customer experience, employee experience, we are filling surveys, feedback. How can we use this experience data within my system? So based on that, we have to store the data. And when we go to the storage, there are different topics depending on the temperature. Do I go to a data lake because I have really unstructured data, which could be, for example, the example around images or video or even sound? Do I have some structured data, transactional one, and I need to put that into a data warehouse? And by the way, and I'm not going to do any SAP product name promotion here, but there is an interesting story in 2010 for us and for the rest of the IT market. In 2010, we've tried to do something a little bit different. We've discovered that it would be possible to put some data in an in-memory structure. So I'm not going to go into a deep architecture review, but by having the data in memory, the cool thing is that we don't have anymore the mechanical access to the hard disk, which was really bottlenecks. So now by having the data in memory, we can have a huge amount of data and we can jump into what we call the real time. So we don't need any more batch processing. We can things in real time. And as a CFO, you would love to do planning simulations. You'll see some demos in a minute. So collect, then the storage, for sure, storage can be on-prem, but we have everything in the cloud right now, and we can do an hybrid world. I need to mix some stuff in the cloud and some stuff on-prem. And by having also these multi-sources, can you imagine today that you can have the weather? You can have the weather information coming from a website, from a web service, and we store that into the platform. And then we need to explore. So collect, store, explore, what does it mean? It means to run some new generation of analytics. I don't care today to run pie charts. What I would love is a system that is able to tell me, look, this is something that you are not aware of. and I'm going to show you the correlation. I'm going to tell you things that you didn't know. This is what we call smart insights. Collect, store, explore, and then we need to learn. And this is where by having the machine learning algorithm, we can learn from the data and we can predict. So let me share with you a couple of different stories here and a couple of different demos. And bear with me, we have a limited time. Happy to meet you later on. If we go first of all to a topic where we can go to a video processing, for example, we have created different solutions. One of these solutions here is in the agriculture space, where we take some drones and in the drone we do the video processing real time. When we say video processing real time, it means that we are having the machine learning algorithm directly embedded within the drone. This is what we call the edge processing. And the story here is try to identify some diseases just by doing the video processing, again, using the drones. From this analysis, we can trigger some specific action directly from the drone to another drone or even to a human sending information back in the field. Sorry for that, but another cool example that I love is around chickens. So we are doing video processing again in the agriculture and especially here monitoring chickens. So what we are doing here in this particular solution is that by using the video processing, first of all, we are able to count. Well, this is not new. But by doing the video processing, we can compute, and you can see that at the bottom here, we can compute the abnormal concentration. So when there is a very strange noise today, the chickens, they concentrate in a corner and they can die in very few seconds. So we need to react in real time when there is that kind of behavior. And the last thing using the video processing is to see what we call the calibration, is to see the impact of the food that we are giving to the chicken. Are they in good health and are they in a good trend? Before we had to do that manually, now we can do that automatically using a machine learning. And last but not least, still in this chicken, I'm going to listen to the chickens. So we are doing a lot of solutions around sound processing. As you can see here on the right app, we are using the sound, so the soundtrack, and we do the analysis. What kind of analysis are we doing? We try to recognize bronchitis. When there is a bronchitis, there is a sound like, and we can recognize even the number of possible bronchitis that we are having among this chicken population. What a crazy world. I'm going to jump into another industry that I particularly love, which is probably far away from your industry, but something that you know by heart, which is sport. When we go to sport, we also have to handle all that kind of solution that you've seen before. A lot of things around processing data. Let's take the best sport player ever, which is Tony Parker, as we can say. Well, I'm not going to show you the stats on TP right now because he's retired, but I'm going to go to a specific period. So what we are doing at the NBA, for example, we do the video processing of all the cameras that we are around the stadium. We have also manner entries, and you'll see later on that we are even doing sound processing. So by doing the video processing, we are able right now to put back the information to roughly 16 millions of concurrent fans connected to this platform. Crazy world. So what we do here, I can tell you the number of time TP was having the ball in the left hand, right hand, going from the left to the right to the left, and we can provide back that kind of stats. And for sure, when I'm there, I would love to better understand. So I would love to go in all the small details. So what the system has done down here is to cut the video into small slices, few seconds, to explain this particular KPI. And I'm even able to see other stuff like the shot zones or even the heat map. Are we doing that real time, which is a big topic that I'm going to address in a minute? Well, in reality, not really, because you could imagine that having that in real time directly to the fans could have an impact on online bets. So there is a kind of delay. We have sometimes delay of few minutes, sometimes of few seconds, depending on the rules of that particular sport. So this is just for fun, but it's interesting to see the amount of data that we are processing. Again, remember, we need to collect, we need to store, and we need to analyze. When we go to another sport super quickly, something that I love also is tennis. We are today providing to the WTA a full platform where we are processing, again, running video processing on the match, and then we put the information back in the hands of a coach. Not the fans, not the public, just the coach. So as a coach and looking at Arena, I can have more information about the way she is hitting the ball, at which position, even the position of the racket. And we can have all these stats, well, during the match, for sure, there is a 15 seconds delay during the match. Why 15 seconds, by the way? Because after 15 seconds, you cannot ask for the video replay. You know that you can ask for a video replay if you suspect that the point is not correct or the point is okay. So 15 seconds, that's too late. So we give back the information 15 seconds after the shot directly back to the coach. Again, collect, store, analyze. Interesting during the match, but interesting for sure after the match. Last thing that I want to show you in this crazy sport world, we are doing many things in soccer. And when we go to soccer today, and when we go to the penalty analysis, it's a kind of poker game today when we are shooting a penalty. But by using the video analysis and by using what we call the body language of the player, we are able to see how many times, where was he placed during the penalty kicks, and this is super important, the penalty kicks, and even where was he looking, on the left, on the right, directly in the center, to the goalkeeper, and so on. So collect, store, analyze. And why do we do that? Because when we need to train that particular goalkeeper, we're going to use that kind of stats. And while we are still in soccer, what I really love also is that we track all the performance of the player. Probably you know that it is not allowed in official matches to wear some devices. So we have to do many things during the training phase, and we have to video process the matches. When we did that for the World Cup, it was 7 hours after the end of a match to be able to process the video because of the rights, because of the video rights. Some of the time in the training, you could be a real time, but what we love to do then after is to train the guy. So when we need to train the player, first of all, we're going to ask for a different KPIs that we are having on the player. And instead of get this guy trained on a particular, let's say, for example, 10 kilometers long. Today, he's very good at that particular KPIs, but we need to cover another KPI. And I can even see the average of the team, and I can even compare player. We're going to play against that particular team. Let's do some study on these guys. And because I'm a sport lover, I will probably tell you that there is only one sport, the best sport ever, which is rugby. And hopefully I have some friends in the call. If yes, please raise your hand in the chat. But in the rugby, that was interesting. And by the way, if you see me on the video, I'm also having that in my hands over here. It was to build with a startup something really cool, which is a connected game shield here. And when I show you that, what we are having today in the particular sensor here is a lot of information about the impacts that we are having in the heads. You know that there is a lot of injuries today in the rugby, especially when we take out the head during the match. So what we do here is to take the data real time during the match. We have the authorization some of the time in the rugby, especially at the World Cup also. So we are deploying that kind of gum shield that can prevent, because we can collect, we can store, we can analyze, but then we need to predict. And when we say predict, it's not about the performance, but also here to protect the player. So sorry if it was a little bit long, but sport is an interesting industry, and you can project hopefully yourself into that kind of experience. So an important topic is about text. I'm just going to show you here very quickly. You have a lot of text around you, and this is an important data source for us. I have a text over here, and I'm going to ask the system to run here the analysis. So most of the time we say that text is an unstructured data, but in reality, we are respecting a syntax, we are respecting a grammar. So why not running this analysis that I'm having over here? So what a system will do here by running the analysis is able to recognize the structure of these particular sentences. So we have the proper name, we have the verb, we could have an adjective and so on. Super. But then next topic will be to create some structured data. So the system is able now to recognize here a member. We have also over down here, you can see something which is an higher event. Why that? Because here in the sentence, there is something written which is today announced the appointment of. This is the typical wording in English for an higher event. So what is the message that we are having here? How can we take benefits from all this data? And you have a bunch around you, I'm sure. Email processing, for sure. That's the first data source. Social network, yes, for sure. But imagine also in some industry where we are asking the technician, the maintenance technician, to enter their comments. I had to restart 3 times the electrical equipment this morning. I had to negative feeding 3 times. We have the frequency, and this morning we have the date. So why not using that today in our analysis? So remember that one of the sources was the IoT. We saw that with the Rugby, and I'll come back in a minute also to our examples, but another entry is about experience. So when we say about experience, it's all about feedback, about surveys. So we need that. On one hand, we have what we call the operational data coming from the financial system, from the sales order, from manufacturing. But on the other hand, you have the experience from the customers and from the employee. How can you take all that and listen and learn from there? So when we need now to do some exploration, remember, collect, store, analyze, and now I need to explore the data. Hey, Fred, you know what? I'm having a lot of point of interest, and I'm storing the addresses of all the point of interest. How can I use some really cool real-time stuff that could help me scanning, exploring the data? Let's have a look. So we have the point of interest. There is restaurant, medical services, there is even the nightlife over here. So we have the addresses stored in the database, but what I need to do the query is just to use a kind of geometric shape. So I'm going to take 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. This is a triangle. And if you look now on the left here, the system is querying real time in the database using something which is a geometric shape. Probably doesn't sound to you, but this is really, really amazing to do when we have to handle millions of point of interest. We do that for smart cities today. We try to identify pipelines, risky pipelines today. And how can we use that kind of power when we do the exploration? Fred, I'm a CFO. How can I use today the new generation of analytics? And again, I'm not here to support any SAP product. I just want to share with you things that we are today delivering to our customer. So I'm here in the situation where you can see everything is in red. Wow. You have so the possibility to analyze, right, graphically, geographically, super. But as you can see here, the system is even able to do some projection. This is where the predictive engine is coming. Then, in front of that kind of analytics, what can I do? So there is something which is interesting, which is the small bulbs that I'm having here. We call that Smart Insight. So the system is telling me, did you know that? Did you know what? And the system will show me over here the correlation between different variables. Is there a correlation today between the loss of revenue and the fact that I'm not having enough people in a particular region? Yes, there is. So this is the way we can collect the data, store the data, and run for you in a transparent way a predictive engine, which is able to show some correlation between variables. This is when I say, how did you know that? So this is the first topic. Okay, so it looks like we have a very, very big competitor today, and the most correlation today is due to a particular product in that competitor in a specific region where I'm not having enough people. Super. Then, as you can see here, the system is able to do, again, the predictive. If we stay like that, we are in a very bad shape. And if we look today at the satisfaction, you remember, we are able to ask for the experience data, satisfaction. In other words, what we call also NPS. So the NPS, the promoter score, is super, super low. And by the way, we are getting down and down. So it looks like people are very unsatisfied most of the time because we don't have enough customer support, which is super important. So what can I do? Then I can simulate. As you can see here today, we have different metrics today that will impact the score, the satisfaction score. So we have the material quality, product design, blah, blah, blah. By having the data in memory, even as a CFO, even here, somebody at the top level, I would love to see if we do just, can we change? Can I just simulate? Nothing will happen then, but I just want to simulate. If we increase a little bit the customer support, or if I use a full architecture, and this is super interesting as a CFO, if I change it a little bit, I know that we're going to have cascade and we're going to have an impact in the whole hierarchy. But what is the most important for me is what would be the impact up there? Can I do some simulation where the system is able to show me the real impact in simulation? Again, I don't want to be techie, but to do so, you really need a full in-memory platform, full in-memory database, and you can do that kind of real-time simulation. We use that a lot during the COVID period for a couple of customers running simulations in critical phases. But by the way, where can we use that? So typical smart insights, typical analytical, but something that I want to show you also is when we need to mix what we call transactional and operation. Here, I need to understand who is about to leave my company within the next 3 months. Well, you will tell me, Fred, doesn't occur, or you will tell me, do you have the list? In reality, what we do here is try to understand by analyzing the feedback. And if we get into more detail, there is something which is very strange in this company, is that we are spending a lot of money today to recruit people, but there is still money for learning. And if I go now in deep dive, using again the machine learning, the system is telling me right down here that most of the time people are leaving the company because they don't have any managerial training, which is a pity because we still have money to train people. So by keeping these people, train them, we're going to reduce even the recruiting expenses. How can we simulate all that? So sorry if I not go in all the details, but first of all, remember that we need to collect, store, explore, and learn. And to do so, I don't need to be a deep data scientist. Probably I could help by a system. Well, in reality, in some industries, we still need some data scientists because we're still using and develop full algorithm. But can I, as a data scientist, use tools to help me in my day-to-day job? But by the way, SAP, the only things that I do remember about SAP are blue, ugly screens for 40 years. Are we talking about innovation here? Is it a new SAP? Well, it's not so new, but our main business since the beginning was in the business processes. Now the story is, how can I bring all this technology back into processes? So let me share you a couple of examples here. In finance, for sure. So when we go into finance, there is something which is quite heavy to handle every time, which is the good receipt and invoice receipt reconciliation. So I'm here in the financial system, and I can see that, well, the system has run a machine learning and can give me, first of all, some root cause. So that's the general dashboard. By the way, do I need to run an analytic system? No, this is full embedded into my financial system and even on my mobile phone. But the most important for me is based on the history, based on the behavior, based finally on a mathematical algorithm that is behind the scene. What the system has done here is we have the purchasing document, and the system is telling me right here by using smart facts that belongs to the algorithm that we need to do some stuff. First of all, the system has identified the root cause, and then there is a proposed action with a certain percentage of confidence. And by the way, as every machine learning, the system is learning and learning and learning and trying to increase this level of confidence. So when we enter into that particular purchase order, particular invoice, we can see that there is a big difference. Some of the time, there is a difference in terms of quantity, in terms of amount. In reality, in our case, we have the problem in both. So from there, super. You are showing me that there is a problem. You are even suggesting something. But we know that when we go today to a company, when we talk about good receipt and when we talk about invoice, we are involving different people, different roles. So how can we use today some collaborative tool? Because every time we don't know who is responsible of what. So I'm still there. I need to take a decision, or I need to give the hands to somebody. The system is telling me to perform a write-off, super. But what I'm going to do from here is directly embed another technology that we have in our hands, wherever you are, is the digital assistant, the chatbot. So over here, I'm going to even enter into a chat, not a bot. I just need to enter into a typical chat. But instead of dropping a screenshot of that particular screen to somebody to act, what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to still be in my financial system, and I'm going to ask somebody, hey, could you please have a look? Could you please have a look, because the good receipt is missing for a couple of items. And what I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to take a screenshot of the particular area here. And the second topic is that in that chat, the particular image that you are having here will be part of the chat. So instead of sending a typical screenshot attached to an inbox, and You are doing that probably like me every day. We do screenshot and we send that in an email. And then when people do the reply, they had somebody in the chat, in the thread, but this person doesn't have the screenshot. So we are asking, hey, I don't have the screenshot. Oh, no problem. I'm going to resend, reply to all with the screenshot and so on. In that particular phase over here, when I will be receiving the notification and when I will click on that particular one, I will go to that particular transaction. So again, let's just summarize. We've taken the data, we've learned from the data, the system is proposing me something, and then I need to act. But by the way, when I need to act in that case, I really need some collaborative stuff with me embedded. This is for me also something important as an intelligent technology. But we can go a step further. What we've done here is that the system has created, well, different recommendation, different proposed stuff. So I'm going to run now in, let's say, in the background, I'm going to run processes that will take all the purchase documents, all the invoice and good receipt, and will automatically reroute to operators, to what we call the processor. So in that case, the system is taking the data, running the stuff, doing the proposal, and will drop automatically to people. And then for sure, I'm going to have to check because I still need probably a human check in that space, and I'm going to perform the write-off. Another example that we are having today in finance, and it took us time to do such full processes. On one hand, we have the history, the payment, the invoices, the payment advices, and so on. On the other end, you know, like me, that it's a nightmare to make the automatic payment clearing. So how can we do here something where in the middle, we can use the machine learning piece? This is what we call a cash application. So what the system is doing is that we learn matching criteria. So from the history, and we take the processing payment, the advice document, and we try to do the automatically cure payment. So in a nutshell, what the system is doing as a machine learning, first of all, is to do the computer vision. So we receive in different formats, recognize what's inside, blah, 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 and we put that back in the system. When we are in the system, by using the intelligent matching, we're going to take the payment, we're going to take the invoices, and we're going to try to automate the clearing. For sure, we're going to have some exception to handle. And when we do so, the result is that we have some rules, and what the system is doing over here is just to show me the reprocess statement that I have to do. So I'm in my process of receiving bank statement, but what the system is doing over here is in reality doing the mapping with different topics and even giving me here a confidence level to that particular statement, bank statement, and to do the automatic cleaning. For sure, the system, I can reject that, and the system will learn from there and propose something more confident next time. But by the way, just for information, because, well, we can talk about finance later on in more details, but I just want to do a couple of stuff in other area around us. Because as a CFO, you are at the center of your company. And for sure, things in supply chain will impact you. So imagine today that in a supply chain, for sure, we are having the predictive algorithm. Well, this is super old, all the forecasts, even if we are refining the models today, and we are also taking data from outside. Is there an impact between your forecast and the weather? Yes, there is, for sure. Is there an impact between the fact that Lionel Messi is part of the Paris Saint-Germain, which is sad for me, and my forecast? Can I take all these external data sources into account? That's an interesting topic. But what I want to focus here is that in that particular area now, what we take into account is here, the customer satisfaction score. You remember, we were having a very bad situation in terms of customer satisfaction. How can we integrate that to, let's say, moderate or review the real forecast? This is how can we use also machine learning in the forecast area. Human resources, interesting area. When we go to human resources today, and when you do a job posting, you do the traditional job description, but can I be helped by a machine learning behind the scenes? So let me just show you an example over here. What the system is doing here is doing the analysis of the job desk. And what I'm having here on the right is the job desk analysis. So the system is doing a natural language processing, trying to recognize, first of all, is this job desk is masculine word? Is it a feminine word? Is it neutral? And can we take data from outside into account into that? One of the interesting data today in the market is the salary range. What I'm going to ask here in the system. So first of all, what the system will do, sorry for that, will even propose to change some words, add some skills also. And here down, you can see that the system is taking data from outside, salary ranges. Am I attractive enough in the wording, in the skills required, and also in the salary proposal? This is machine learning. We have tons of things like that in finance, supply chain, human resources, and we are developing more and more. And by the way, I'm not telling you that you need to be SAP powered of all the modules to do such stuff, but this is not the topic of the session. In sales, I love this one because it impacts really finance and sales. When we go today to the opportunity portfolio analysis. So I'm here in the CRM system, and what I'm going to ask the system is to show me the list of all the opportunities that I'm having. Super. But what the system is doing, and sorry for the French word here, is based on more than 72 variables within my systems, from finance, payments, and so on, day sales outstanding. We take all the data coming from the payment, we take all the data from infra delay, we take all the data coming from the history of the sales order, and what we do here is we compute the score. What are my chances to win the deal? You will find it crazy, but there is a machine learning behind the scene. So in that case, don't spend any energy. If we go to another particular one, yes, there is a good possibility, but take into account that for the moment, the amount has changed several times. You are still in late for a certain activity. And some of the time, like this one, the deal has slipped several times. The amount has changed several times. So can we take all that to compute the scoring on the deal? This is what we call a deal intelligence. Quite interesting for the salespeople. And even now, we can even go to the sensors. If you remember, we had the sensors in the gum shields, and something like we have some sensors all around us. Can the data coming from the sensors can trigger processes? So let me just summarize this particular example. I have a sensor here in my house, and every time I'm breaking the sensor or giving a big on this sensor, what is the result? The system is analyzing that the system is broken, and the system will trigger automatically several things. The first one, the system will create a purchase request for the spare part. The second topic that the system will do will be to create a service order for a technician. Last topic will be to create, another topic will be stock reservation for the instrument that I need to change the spare part. And last, I'm going to arrange the travel request. From one particular value coming from the sensor, right? Running the predictive engine, because having the data coming from the sensor, I can tell you that there is an 80% probability that the machine is broken. I won't wait. I'm going to trigger real time the creation of that kind of processes. Probably it's wrong. Probably the system will have to learn. Probably it's right, and we are in the correct delay. This is what we call the data-driven, and there is a lot of story around that. But from the act, there is something that is super interesting as a CFO, which is by having all these sensors, by having finally the usage computed, can we change a little bit our business model? Can we move from selling a product to selling the usage of a product, selling services? And this is also what is called everything as a service. Let's have a look. Today, when we go in that particular world of the connected things, I showed you before that we are able to get the real-time condition monitoring. You can imagine that we run the predictive, meaning that from the things, we take the data and we are able to trigger processes. You saw it. I'm able to trigger a maintenance order before having a problem on the machine, just by running a predictive engine behind the scene. But the most important for me is that particular word is over here, usage. By having the connected things, I know how do you use my product. So it means that coming from the usage, we can collect the data and we can even jump to new business models based on the usage. I'm not selling anymore the product, I'm selling the usage of a product. And by the way, it's not a traditional rental, it's per usage. It's not per hour, it could be something more complex. So to do so, we need to handle something which is able to mix different possibilities. First of all, I need to deliver the product, which is a traditional sales item. I need to deliver a service item to do the installation of that particular sweeper, for example. And I need then to handle a subscription model. Based on what? Based on the usage. What is the usage? So first of all, we can have some recurring charges, we can have the one-time charges. And the cool thing is that we're going to get then the data coming from the flow. What are the flow? You will see somewhere that we are paying here based on the square meter. So the sensors or even the technician, now most of the time the sensors are able to give me the usage. So I'm able to charge this usage. We have a bunch of story around that. Companies or brands like Hilti today, they are not selling anymore drilling equipments. They are selling number of holes. We have some people that are not selling anymore compressor, air compressor. They have enough information to give you the machine and selling you the usage. For example, the volume of air that we are using. If you go to the printer, you know like me that today you can have the printer quite for nothings. But by monitoring your printer, we can have more information about the usage and we can charge you against that. And by the way, we've created a full solution, and just a small promotion for SAP, we've created a full solution around e-mobility, where we are tracking all the information coming from the cars and from the charging station, and we are able to charge using that kind of subscription model. Again, very big change in the market today. Even Decathlon, you know, the brand, they are selling today bicycle as a service. So we have to adapt to that. To do so, you need to collect the data, you need to store the data, and you need to have some kinds of, let's say, powerful and scalable system to do that kind of subscription and usage-based model. The next topic that I want to cover is that, okay, we can stay up there. And by the way, as a CFO, you are using for the moment a lot of technology. Without knowing it, you are using a big data, an in-memory platform. You are running smart analytics. You are having a predictive engine. The system is even showing you some recommendation. And you have that in hands just by running your finance and analytics system without knowing it. And by the way, you can implement new business models. But we can now go to the next step, which is go to the processes and analyze from the processes. What do I mean here? On the left, we were analyzing data. Here, what I really want to see is when I go to an order to cash process or a purchase to pay, P2P process, I want the system to tell me KPIs. I want the system to highlight some problems that we are having in the process, in the execution of the process. Okay, then I need to simulate for sure, and I need to improve. But when I need to improve, by the way, there are two possible output. The first one, it's about people. So I need to train people. So if I decide to change the process, I'm going to show you that in a minute. I need to train the people. But the second topic is from there, I probably need to automate. So by the way, you remember the bank reconciliation that we were running before. We could have also that kind of automation directly in the output of the machine learning. Saying that, I can say that up than 90 after below 90%, you don't do anything. For the rest, you can automate the process. So this is what we call the famous RPA, and we have a bunch of examples there. But let me take that one. So I'm going to do analyze. I'm going to try to simulate, improve, and I'm going to automate and even implement. So I'm in a and last but not least, sorry for that, but if we try to improve something, for sure, you have to monitor afterwards if it was okay or not. So I'm going to first analyze. So I'm at a company here, I'm selling solar panels. And what I'm doing is, first of all, I take the information coming from the customer. You remember the experience data? They are coming from here. And then I'm going to focus also on the employee sentiment. So on one hand, people are saying that they received the product and not the technician. On the other hand, employees are very unsatisfied. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run here the process flow performance. I just want to understand some analytics. First of them is the sales order item cancelled. So I need to analyze that particular process. So what the system will do, first of all, is to do into a deep dive of this process. This is what we call also the process mining. So here on the left, I'm having the traditional sales order. But here, this is where we are having sales order and service order at the same time. Remember, we sell the product and we need somebody to install the product. Here, well, we say 6%, 2%. Well, this is cool. I could even benchmark with the rest of the people in my industry. But when we look at that, wow, this is incredible. And if we want to go in more deep detail, we realize that there is a loop in reality, is that we are losing a lot of time here to reassign service technician because the product is not there and we assign somebody. So then we do a loop. And at the end, the result is that people are canceling their order. So we really need to find a solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a snapshot of this particular process that I'm doing. I'm creating sales order and then I'm creating sales service order. So it looks like it is a kind of separate stuff. So what we can do here is when doing the improvement now, all the systems are able to show me some possible solutions. In that case, what the system is telling me is that there is a solution, is to implement something that is called, for example, a solution order, where we can mix the installation of the product, the order of the product, and even a subscription. Remember, we saw that before. So I have my system as it is, and the system will recommend me some solution. And by the way, here on the left, this is my situation. Here on the right, this is the proposed by the system. For sure, in my case, relying on a particular module at SAP, but we don't care. The most important for me is by doing this comparison, from a CFO perspective, I can have the impact on the cost, which is super important for me. So yes, we're going to implement that one. And by the way, behind the scene, what the system will do is in reality, we're going to have a bot automating the synchronization between the orders. I'm not going to go in all the details over here, just to respect the timing that we are having. And then I'm going to monitor the implementation. For sure, we come back on the green side. That's super. But then what the system will also do is to do a monitoring for, I need to monitor time and time this process just to be sure that we are still on track. Okay, then interact, we saw it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Last but not least, you need to interoperate. So you probably have some stuff today in one solution and another, and you need to use some kind of API. Today, you need to jump into that world. And the last thing that I just want to highlight, well, I won't have time to cover all that topics, but this is about the chatbot, and we have some stuff about low code, no code. Even for your financial people, even for you on your mobile today, you can have everything in an application. You can use the traditional notification on your smartphone to receive some finance information, or even alerts coming from the machine learning. The last thing that I want to highlight is that here we are internally with a company, but we also need to extend to other companies, to supplier, for example, to transport, logistics. So we've created a kind of business network that helps us to, let's say, have the link of the different players into that network. So let's don't stay internally, let's go also outside. In that particular case, starting from just a purchase order. So I was starting from an invoice in finance, that I went to the PO, then I'm able here to go in more detail about the transport. I can even go down, if we want, to the route of that particular transport. By the way, it is delayed, and there is an impact from a CFO perspective, and I really do need to understand where is the responsibility. So we've created a kind of network, being able to track all the information coming from the transport. So it's a mix of procurement and transport. And the last topic is that we have to be green. And as a CFO, you do care about that. When we talk about green, first of all, we talk about eco-design. More and more, we need to put sustainability starting from the design. That's the most important. And we need to have some real-time analytics for sure. And we need to also use some simulation over here. Remember, I did a couple of simulation, always the same story. But we can have the traditional KPIs. Well, this is quite simple, I would say. But the most important is that for some industry, you have to go down to the product. Go down to the product means, and this is something that we've done here, is to create another currency in our finance system. In that case, another currency is the carbon. So I'm having euros for all the transaction, but I'm also having carbons in my transaction as a currency. And this is a big, big change because we can go down to the product and we can even go down to all the production lines, and we can even go down to all the people involved in the chain of logistic, procurement, or even manufacturing. So as a summary, what we were having here, remember, we need to collect, store, explore, and so on. This is important because we need to build that kind of digital platform. We need to use that kind of, let's say, foundation. For sure, on top of that, we have some intelligence suite, whatever is the system, by the way. I was showing you a couple of SAP products there, but then I need to use the power of all these beautiful stuff that we're having here, but directly embedded in some suite. And we also need to be connected. Before that, I need also to analyze the processes. There is a huge challenge over here, even for a CFO, to improve the processes, whatever is the area, order to cash, purchase to pay, and so on. And last but not least, we need to have a business network. So I just have also a message for you, just to end on my pitch, is that, well, collect, store, analyze, predict, act, super, being connected. One of the particular topic that is interesting for me today is the startup area. And we have created a very big program today to, as an incubator, to host some staff for the startups. And I just want to show you, I'll send you afterwards a couple of things here, but we've created a store. And in that particular store, we have some startup that have developed a lot of cool stuff around in our ecosystem. I'm not saying that they are using SAP. They are connected to our SAP customers, and we do co-innovation, and they can even be populated in that particular store. And some of them are even enriching a particular area. Some of them are working in the finance. Some of them are working in human resources, manufacturing, and so on. This is just a message for you. If you are interested, raise the hand, and happy to get in touch with you later on. Try to respect my timing. Am I on time? Wow, 3 minutes left. Trying to have a look if there is any question in the chat, but I just want to say thank you. I would say also merci. I know that we have probably some French speakers in the call. And I'm going to just stop for a minute just to see, just stop the sharing. Sorry for that. I just want to see if we have some Q&A. I've never seen SAP like that. Thank you. So where are the consultants able to implement that kind of solution, and what are the average size of the company who can afford a system like that? Well, I'm going to take first of all the second topic. We are addressing every kind of size of company, and for sure you will say, oh no, SAP, this is only for the big account. I'm not sure that that you know that 80% of our business rely on what we call mid-size and mid-market companies. So it's not anymore, and even today using everything as a service, because everything that I did show you finally is a bunch of services, and when we assemble all that, we can do the business transformation as a service. And by having everything in the cloud today, we can start super quickly and super easily. So everything, a lot of things have changed since so many years in our company. Where are the consultants today? There are different kinds of consultant. So happy to share with you, depending on what are you looking for, or even if you are also candidate to work into that area. Again, around the data, hopefully you've understood that we need to collect, store, analyze, and better understand. There is huge challenges to help our customers and to help you for sure. Yep. So, Francois, well, I was trying to give you a few things, and sorry if I didn't have all the bunch of finance. I was trying also to get you away a little bit from all the webinars, traditional webinars. So what we are doing most of the time, you saw the cash application story when we start from the OCR recognition, from the bank statement, and then in the middle, you have the machine learning, which is learning and doing some recommendation. We also have some stack between intercompany machine learning transaction. We also do using the process mining to identify some points where we need to improve the processes within finance. So happy to go in more details if you wish in that. Voila, as we say here. Hello, Timo. Hello, Olivier. So couple of message here. Hello, Zoe. Thanks. So it's indeed, it's time. I don't know where is the operator. Normally she's here cutting me the voice. Thanks for your time. Let's keep in touch. Talk to you soon. And well, good luck for the rest. It's the last day. I don't know if you still have some webinars to follow, but it was a super organization. Well done, CFO Connect.